So I know the human brain likes to do as much analysis as it possibly can and break down all sorts of statistical comparisons. But to be honest with you, when we're talking about sports card collecting, I don't think it's that difficult. Like, I completely understand people's want to collect, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, collecting in a monetarily feasible sort of a manner is an approach that, like, I'm on board with. It's something that I do. So, like, I don't begrudge anybody who wants to do it that way. But if you're out there and you're over analyzing any of these sports in regards to a lot of these players, especially if you're over analyzing a lot of these new players and you're putting like exceptional emphasis on what their value actually is, I think you're doing yourself and the industry a disservice, because ultimately what you're doing is you're driving these prices of cards that are printed like into the ground, up into these stratospheres where so much success needs to be priced in to what their achievements are. And I'm not saying they won't reach them, because like it's very feasible, right? Like it's a very feasible reality that some of these guys reach these potentials that people are talking about. So whether it be a Justin Herbert for the Chargers or Doncic for Dallas or whoever in whatever sport it happens to be, but when you look at how Herbert's had cards sell for over $1 million, and we've seen Doncic cards sell for multiple millions of dollars, I think you've kind of put the industry already in a handicapped position, because you're now pricing in these exorbitant results that if they don't reach them, you've got a lot of people that are going to end up, one, failing out of the industry because they're going to take such a grandiose L by over assuming that these guys are going to succeed to the levels that are probably out of the realm of possibility, but they're not unfeasible. Like it could happen to a couple of these guys. But when we do this to people every time we prospect, every new rookie season, you've got new Joe Burrow cards that you're assuming it's going to be, this is the guy, and now it's Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, and everybody is the guy after guy. To be honest with you, it's not rocket science. Like, if you're really going to put a high premium in certain players, I think the ones that you want to put it into, and that at least it's justifiable, not just to you, but to the marketplace, is to people who transcend the sport. And I think I've got a good kind of a picture up here as far as the thumbnail goes with guys like Brady. I would assume Mahomes, 5 straight conference championships, going to a third Super Bowl here when I'm making this video, potentially becoming a second-time Super Bowl winner. A guy like Connor McDavid doesn't have a lot of Stanley Cup playoff success as of right now, but has a ridiculous level of personal success. Ovechkin, the same thing again. I think one Stanley Cup for Ovechkin, a lot of personal success, though, pretty remarkable. Those guys are obviously LeBron here, right on the precipice of breaking the record for most points all time. These guys transcend the sports that they're in. They're famous beyond the sport. In fact, they make the sport more famous on their back rather than the other way around. So I would say having money into them potentially is at least like feasible, right? It's a digestible theory, because you're like, okay, I can grasp why that in 20 years this is still going to be something where the marketplace for this sport, if these sports are still intact and they're still as popular as they are, that this person is going to be still kind of that figurehead. They're going to be on that Mount Rushmore of the sport, and why the price might sustain itself. But beyond a price you're willing to pay as a collector, I don't see why people overreach on a lot of these guys when what you're doing is like you're pricing in this exorbitant amount of success that needs to take place, like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert at $1 million for a card. And I don't care if it's a one of one. There's so many sets printed that there's 1,000 one of ones made by Panini every year, that these guys are gonna have to supplant Tom Brady as the GOAT, and it's already priced in. There isn't even any wiggle room. And then where's your market in the future? Who is going to be the people that are actively pursuing all of these extremely expensive cards. And I think we've seen it now, and people probably realize it as the market's adjusted now and inflation's up crazy, and there's all these extenuating circumstances as to why this isn't like a feasible way to go about things. But it's like, if you use your mind and you step back from the emotions and the FOMO, and you step back from trying to like be involved in prospecting every single Julio Rodriguez and Jazz Chisholm and Joe Adele and everybody who enters the sport, and you just look at it from an outsider's perspective, the value is always going to be contingent on people who are bigger than the sport, the Michael Jordans, the Magic Johnsons. And I'm not even sure Magic would be up there to the level that he is if it wasn't for Magic and Bird's rookie cards being on the same card, and obviously cards being much shorter supply back when those rookie cards came out. But your Jordan obviously is transcendent. Your Wayne Gretzky is transcendent. I would say to an extent, even Joe Montana is transcendent. But let's put ourselves in 2023, in February of 2023 right now, and ask ourselves just how many people beyond hardcore football fans really would even identify Joe Montana if you walked through. And I love Joe Montana, don't get me wrong. And I think he's easily the second best quarterback of all time behind Brady. Who would identify him if they walk past him in a mall right now? I'm not sure a lot of you millennials even know what a mall is, but there's a place where stores, like actual businesses, used to actually open brick and mortars. But who would know what he looked like? Who would just run, be like, Joe Montana, oh my God, right? They know TikTok celebrities more than that. So, I mean, you really need to make sure you're picking and choosing properly if you're trying to do this as an investment. And when you watch Golden Auctions or PWCC or any of these other auction houses recently put cards back up that were up a couple of years ago, and now watch them now, a couple of years later, man, things have taken a smash, and like just a straight ass smash, and it's a little much to even like stomach. And you wonder if it's just like a tax write down to take a loss or something from somebody who just made way too much money and was like speculating in that and NFTs and God knows what at the time. But why you would do that if you were doing that as like an actual like investment endeavor is just so beyond me, because you could easily take a step back, see the people who transcend the sport and who are obviously going to be the names that you know into the future, the Ronaldos, right? The Neymars. It's very transparent, and I think we make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And I think that if we were using not rose-colored glasses or not beer goggles or whatever it is that we're doing our analysis with, but we were being really, really analytical, we would see that there's only a couple of people, the Kobe Bryants of the world, where their card probably even 20 or 30 years from now, their rookie card especially, or autograph low number stuff and all that, is going to retain some value, because there's always going to be an audience that would like to take that on and put it away and keep it in their you know, their keepsakes in their private collections. But do we really believe that every one of these Tom, Dick, and Harrys are going to be transcendent throughout time? I just really don't think it is. I think we could be doing a lot better job of consuming this stuff on a much more reasonable level. If you paid a couple, $300, $400, $500 for a Luka Doncic autograph, I mean, I don't see what's wrong with that. A rookie card, you know, $1,000, couple thousand maybe, but like, Christ, how much would it cost you to just fucking meet Luka Doncic at this point? You could probably jerk him off for that much money, right? Like, it just seems kind of silly, man. I don't know. It feels like we do ourselves a disservice, and we could probably be a lot smarter about it. I don't know. I think it's pretty black and white. You guys let me know how you feel down in the comments. Join us over on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. BigBeaverComics.com. We appreciate you guys as always, man. Peace out.